There's a really good idea about the reason that he thinks the black community has issues, like on averages, gaining economic parity with the white community, is because the black community is the only community in America that's not allowed to succeed. What he means by that is not that there's like a racial white hand pushing black people down. And the example he uses is like, imagine if Jews were a part of a community where Jews were told the only way to succeed and to get a good job in this community was to become a Nazi.
Oh
like you had to put on the armband, you had to, believe in Nazi values. That was the only way you could get a good job and succeed in society, right?
Yeah, I'm not becoming a Nazi.
Do you think Jews would be that successful in that society?
Hey everybody! Look, we're gonna review this video here. This very interesting video I saw on the Young Turks. I'm watching the Young Turks again, and recently we got in is it a controversy, Sitch, where we talked to Destiny, and I guess people are making charges that we don't really cover enough right-wing material. I mean, I don't care. We're going to cover whatever we want to cover, but I did think this was interesting, and I think a lot of our show revolves around kind of debunking falsehoods in the media. And I watched this video and I thought, maybe these are some right-wing falsehoods. I don't know. We might have to do some research here on the fly.
Okay. I haven't seen this video. I don't know anything about this story.
Right. But I also am particularly interested in the performance from Cenk Uygur in this video. Because I want Sitch. Sitch is... Everyone loves it when Sitch gets really irate. When Sitch goes off, loses his mind, gets triggered, people love it. Look, Except for what?
Except when I get irate over Trump stuff. Then they throw the TDS at me.
Well, that's true. So
see, but that was the best part of the Destiny conversation. Even now, when I get triggered over Trump stuff, and people call me TDS, they're gonna, in the back of their minds, they're gonna be like, "It could be so much worse."
Yeah.
They're gonna know. They're gonna Destiny. Like, oh, God bless Sitch.
We have to send Destiny a thank you card.
Yeah, exactly. Like a bunch of roses.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so here's the video. You can obviously pause whenever you want. I feel like we might do some research because I don't necessarily know if the argument they're making is true.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know anything about this story. I never heard about any of this. So.
Okay, here we go.
Fall, a teacher by the name of Karen Luritzen had been selected as Idaho's Teacher of the Year. Now she's actually planning to leave the state and move to Illinois altogether because of the harassment that honor has led to. Now, apparently she says that after she won the award, she was attacked by conservatives who claimed that she was trying to indoctrinate their children. Now, I read some of the pieces that were written about her just to make sure we're not missing anything here. And let me just say, we're not missing anything here. With that,
isn't this great? Look, first of all, Anna can do no wrong on this show. There will be no disparaging Anna in the chat. But look at this. She's digging into the actual articles.
Of course,
look at what's going on here. Yeah, exactly. Not wanting to misrepresent the right wing. That's when my little spidey senses kicked in. I was like, oh, interesting here.
That said, let me give you the details on the harassment she was dealing with. So this dream of being named Teacher of the Year turned into a nightmare for her. She had been teaching for 20 years when she received the Teacher of the Year award just last September. Now, Sherry Ybarra, who is Idaho's State Superintendent of Public Instruction, said this of the teacher: Karen's talents go beyond a mastery of teaching. She has created tremendous connections with her students and the wider school community, and she excels in the art of building classroom relationships that involve not only her students, but also their educational network from parents to peers. So she sounds lovely. Well, not lovely enough apparently for some members of the right wing. I'm gonna give you an example of a headline that was written about her. I also read this piece to see what they were actually complaining about. So Action Idaho wrote in September of 2022, leftist activist named Teacher of the Year by Idaho's Department of Education. Now in that piece, they
well, that didn't seem like a too bad a headline, right? Is that a terrible headline?
Well, I mean, it's obviously a bias headline. Right?
Look, I might be conflicted in this video here. I'm not sure.
Well, the question is the person actually a leftist activist, right? I mean, that will be I'm assuming that's the question of the video. Are the accusations against the teacher justified or not?
Right. We use leftist to mean socialist. I think obviously they're using leftist to mean someone on the left.
I don't know how this person means it.
Right.
Provided some examples of her social media posts that they were concerned about, namely her denial that critical race theory was being taught in Idaho's public school system, which is demonstrably true. There was also this image of her that I'm sure was very naughty and very, very dangerous, according to some of these right-wingers. It's just a profile photo of her. It's her Facebook page, and it has one of those like pre-made filters that says "Love is love" with the rainbow flag, just signaling that she is supportive of the LGBT community. Okay.
Yep.
So,
Sitch, you want to weigh in here?
What am I weighing in on?
Well, I think we covered a video that I thought the person was more of an activist.
Right.
And you said you didn't think that the person was an activist.
The person that the Disney movie thing.
Right, the Disney movie thing.
Right.
I think the story was she showed a particular Disney movie that had LGBT relationship in it. And
Right.
some of the parents got upset about that. And I felt that she was doing it because she was an LGBT activist. A lot of people disagreed with me and said, no, she was just doing it just to show the movie.
Right. It was some
But
minor part of the movie.
in this situation, we haven't really seen enough to believe that she
Okay.
is an LGBT activist, correct?
So I brought up the article she's referencing from Action Idaho,
Right.
which labels itself Conservative Idaho News and Opinion. Right.
So it's labeling itself a conservative network.
Right. So you would suspect that they would be bringing forward the strongest arguments against the person, right?
Of course.
Now there could be more information, and we'll watch as we watch this video. So far, this article brings up 4 pieces of evidence that they label against this person about why they're a leftist. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
2 of the pictures are, one is a picture of her, and she has a lanyard around her neck that is a rainbow flag. So I guess it's educate. So I guess the idea is that this is a pride flag. The second one is a picture that Anna brought up, where she has the "Love is Love" pride, like rainbow flag thing in her profile picture. And so those 2 things are about just having a rainbow or a pride flag. In regard to that, I would say that is no means in hell and way define someone as being a leftist, define someone as believing in queer theory or gender ideology. To me, if you see someone has a rainbow flag in the profile picture and you automatically assume they're a leftist, I think you've been on the internet a little too long. You need to kind of touch grass. Because the problem is that the average person out there, the average moderate person, they still think that the pride flag, and they still think supporting pride just means that they don't hate gay and trans people. That's how they interpret it. So simply having and I know many people in my life, I've seen them. They have all the little rainbow flags during June month and all their profile pictures. And if I talk to them about my concerns with gender dysphoria and all this stuff and with kids transitioning, they agree with everything I said. So just a person having a rainbow in their profile picture is not evidence of them being a leftist or evidence of any sort of them trying to teach children something that I think is dangerous or harmful at all. That alone is not evidence of anything. So the other pieces of evidence that they bring forward are 2 tweets. One, which is an article where she says, so you think you've heard about critical race theory. Of course you have. Now read this and figure out what it is and why you in Idaho should not be afraid of it. And it's an article that's called "White People's Fear of Critical Race Theory is Based on Ignorance," which I will look into. And the second one is things that don't exist in where she lives. and it says polar bears, meerkats, honey badgers, and critical race theory. So now I'll read this article, but I haven't read it yet. So if her only point is that she buys the narrative, the wrong narrative that I disagree with, though actually I shouldn't say this because I don't know specifically with Idaho, right? I don't
Well,
know
yeah, if they're
specifically what's
not
going on with
doing
Idaho.
whiteness studies or gender as a spectrum or any of that stuff, then
Right.
I mean, this is why I point to the specific issues, because then you don't get bogged down in the definition of what are we talking about? What is critical race theory?
Right. I don't know specifics about Idaho, so I shouldn't say. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, that there is critical race theory, or some elements more likely of critical race theory that are taught in Idaho school. I would not claim a teacher who said otherwise is an automatic evil CRT proponent, subverter of liberal values, because the average person has no clue what CRT is. The average person will read an article in the New York Times that says CRT is not being taught in schools and just accept it to be true. And my goal here is to try to educate those people. I think that should be the goal of all of us, to try to educate those people to explain what is actually going on.
Yeah, what is CRT?
Right. So doesn't mean these people are right, but I'm just saying simply someone having a pride flag in their profile picture and simply someone believing the untrue lie that CRT is not being taught in schools does not automatically equate them as an evil leftist subverting our democracy and liberalism. My guess would be, now I could be wrong, obviously this person could be all those things. I would just require stronger evidence for it. My initial assessment would be they're probably just an ignorant person carrying water for, all this garbage. That'd be my thought process.
Perhaps, but I would only go there if there was actually some kind of whiteness idea going on in the school system.
Yeah, well, I'm granting, just for the sake of argument, that there is.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Because there might not be.
Idaho is a pretty conservative state. I mean,
yeah, I don't have no clue.
It's hard for me to imagine. I mean, it could be, obviously, but I don't know. I don't know if they're doing privilege walks in Idaho.
Because, I mean, I have this conversation with family members and friends. And it's like, it's kind of funny. It's like, the meme with Patrick and Manta Ray, where Manta Ray is trying to give Patrick his wallet back, and Patrick keeps saying, "This isn't my wallet." You know the meme I'm talking about?
Yeah, of course.
Where he's like, "Is this your wallet?" And he says, "No." And he says, "Is this your ID?" And it has his name. And he's like, "It says Patrick Starr." Right? Yeah. And he's like, "Yep, that's me." And he's like, "So this is your wallet?" "No, it's not my wallet." Okay. I've had that conversation a million times with the same people about CRT.
That's like the total CRT argument.
Right. No, but I've had that exact conversation about CRT with so many people I know, where I go, well, I'll be like, "Oh, CRT sucks." And then they'll say, "No, CRT is not. It's all this good stuff." And I'll say, "Well, no. What do you think CRT is?" And then they'll tell me, and I'll say, "That's not what CRT is. CRT is boom, 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 boom. All these things, right?"
Right.
And then they say, "Oh, I agree with you, Sitch. All those things you listed are all awful." And I say, "Okay, that's CRT." And then, this happens so much, and we've had conversations and debates where this happens. So the person says, "Well, that's the academic definition of CRT."
Right. Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, "Well, that's what CRT is." And they say, "But what? Yeah, but when people say CRT out in the world, that's not what they mean." And I was like, "Okay, I agree with you. That's because they're ignorant." And then they'll agree to that, but then a week later, they'll yell about someone banning CRT. And I'm like, "Well, why are you mad that they're banning CRT?" And it's like, "Well, because they're not talking about the academic definition, Sitch. They're talking about the wrong definition of CRT. Is that what they're banning?" And I'm like, "Are they? Did you actually look into what the law is that they're banning?" "No." "Well, then you look into it. Oh, well, there should be nothing objectionable here, right?"
Yeah.
And so it's just
they're banning
so weird.
Racial discrimination.
Exactly. It's just so weird. People just, for some reason, they just can't get out of the tribal mode and just accept that they shouldn't be basically propping up the incorrect definition of CRT that people are pushing for, essentially. But that doesn't mean the people pushing for it know what the hell they're pushing for, because in my experience, they generally don't.
Right. So. Yeah.
Now, if this teacher was teaching whiteness studies and teaching queerness studies, then that'd be a very big indication she does know exactly what these things are, right? And would be engaged in some sort of subterfuge.
Right. Yeah. I just like the privilege walks and stuff. I feel like they can create negative stereotypes
Oh,
of
100%. Yeah.
whites. Rather than calling that critical race theory, I think it's easier just to say these privilege walks are creating negative stereotypes of whites that I think are unproductive, and we should stop doing that. Instead of getting into this long, protracted argument about whether or not that is CRT. It's like, obviously, look, I see the videos on the internet. I know people are doing these privilege walks.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
But obviously, those privilege walks are founded in CRT. That's like the origin of them.
of course.
So,
Of course.
yeah.
Right. So I guess it's all a long statement just to say
We don't know about this lady.
well, I would
yet.
require
Yeah.
more information to make a judgment about this woman.
Right. Yeah.
The outlets that are criticizing her failed to provide any evidence that she had actually brought her personal political views into the classroom. The only issue that conservatives took with the actual substance of her lessons is that she acknowledged the existence of other cultures, apparently, and they didn't like that. So her own global interests often inspired her teaching, but Lauritsen said she faced complaints from parents about a lesson on some worldwide cultures who eat insects, and even objections to students learning about the United Nations.
She's teaching them to eat the bugs. Sitch. She's
That's
guilty.
right. Did you have to live in the pod and eat the bugs? Oh my God.
Look, I've seen enough.
Yes.
Guilty.
Guilty? Okay. I like it.
She said, quote, when it's my kid can't do this because it's propaganda and my kid can't do this because we don't believe in the United Nations, it's like, what? It's not Santa Claus. What do you mean you don't believe in it? Even if I have certain beliefs myself, does not mean that I teach kids, like meaning she's not teaching her personal values to the students. It's not my job to indoctrinate or make kids little versions of myself. It's to make kids into the best version of themselves. So Cenk, there's more detail, but go off.
Yeah. All right. So
That's gonna, Sitch. That is gonna be my cue to you too. Okay. When I turn to you and say, "But Sitch, go off," I want you to be ready. Okay. Ready. Constantly have one in the chamber. Okay.
Okay.
I want you to have a bottle of hot Tabasco on your desk.
These retards.
Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
How well do you think Cenk does when he gets the command?
I think he's always ready. Okay. You know, Cenk is like the Hulk. You know, he's like, you want to know what my secret is? I'm always angry.
So part of the thing that I think is interesting about this,
Yeah.
I feel like there's been a tangible improvement in Anna's coverage, because I do think she's kind of dropped the tribalism and is kind of, I mean, she's doing what Sitch and I always try to do, right? Try to get to the truth of the matter. I do not think Cenk has dropped the tribalism.
No.
At all. So a little bit of the critique here, I think, might be interesting. Is like, is this fair? I mean, it might be. I didn't read these articles, so I don't know how deep in the right wing bubble these articles are responding to this woman. But
I don't know. Yeah. Sure.
you're going to see Cenk's response.
Okay.
let's talk about where this started and where we are today. I remember when we started covering these stories a couple of years back, Republicans said, no. This is just for elementary school kids. And I was on a right-wing show recently, and they showed like this one book they found with like gay oral sex in it. And they're like, can you imagine? And to this day, they're still pretending that that's the issue, right? Then it was like, well, maybe not just elementary school students, maybe all high school students. And they're like, well, maybe not graphic stuff, but just even the fact that gay people exist. And well, maybe not just the fact that critical race theory, since we made that up, it's not being taught in any of the elementary school students or the high schools or anywhere else. So maybe it's even teaching that slavery was bad. We don't like that. Maybe we should teach the upsides of.
Okay, this is awful. This is all awful. Okay. Let's break this down because this is all terrible. Cenk, what are you doing, Cenk? Okay. So here's the way to actually describe the process, I think, in a realistic way or a neutral way. There was a book, or there was multiple books that had graphic depictions of sex acts that were available for kids that most people felt was too young for them to be available for. In fact, I would say I don't even think for high school students, I don't even know why this should be in a public school at all, right?
Right.
Like personally, I don't care because of internet porn, but I don't think it's just doesn't make sense to me that like school should be having this kind of material or even discussing this stuff. That's not the place of school, in my opinion. Okay. That was a real thing. And there's a real justifiable reason that people would not want that in their schools.
But how do you feel about schools just accepting that like gay people exist?
Well, hold on. So that's the problem. Okay. We have to take each one of these things separately, as opposed to kind of putting them all together the way that Cenk is doing.
Right.
And I think this is kind of a problem, the way that people kind of, because they get caught up in tribalism, because they're kind of want to attack someone, the snowball kind of rolls. Because it's like, okay, so we should plant our flag. We should say, there were books that had graphic depictions of minors engaged in sexual activities. That is not right for school. Then we put a period there, and everyone agrees and says yes. Okay, we take that issue and we throw it away. We throw it into the ether
because we've
all agreed on it. It's gone, right? Okay, we're not going to fold it into anything. Now, there were some people that wanted to use that momentum against that to then continue saying, well, maybe we shouldn't teach about anything about gay people existing. Okay, that's a separate issue. They wanted to use the momentum from the previous issue, but those issues are different issues. We have to separate them in our minds. Now, you can say, well, hold on there, partner. I think it's totally fine for schools to teach that gay people exist and people can be gay. Fuck you. I was with you with the don't have graphic depictions of minors, but I am putting my foot down. I am preventing the slippery slope fallacy from occurring and saying, no, we can teach in sex education or in whatever that gay people exist in schools. That's totally fine. Right?
Sure.
Okay. And so I feel like that's kind of the problem that Cenk is engaged here, is that because there are bad actors or people that will use momentum of something legitimate to try to push something illegitimate or that you would believe is illegitimate, therefore it kind of puts us in this mental state where it makes people want to say the original concern was illegitimate too, when it wasn't. It was a legitimate issue. They just tried to slippery slope us up into something else.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the problem. And I don't. So that's kind of the problem that Cenk's engaged in now. With the CRT stuff, they didn't make it up. There were elements of CRT that were 100% being taught in schools. The ideas of anti-colorblindness was 100% being taught in schools. The ideas of white privilege was 100% being taught in schools. The ideas of implicit racial bias was being taught in schools. The ideas of, that whiteness needs to be deconstructed was being taught. The ideas that whiteness has inherent within it, that our liberal society has inherent within it, racism that needs to be basically deconstructed and destroyed via destroying whiteness was being taught in schools. All these things were being taught, not everywhere, but they were being taught in some schools. So to me, it's completely incorrect and foolish to say the CRT wasn't being taught in schools. That'd be like if say there's like a law that said you couldn't teach creationism in school, right?
I like that law. That would be great.
Okay. Yeah, I like that law. But so you had some schools where they didn't teach creationism, right?
Right.
But they taught you Jonah and the Whale story. And they taught you Noah's Ark. And they taught you, King Solomon, right?
Right.
Or King David stories, right? They taught you, the resurrection of Jesus, right? They didn't teach you directly the creationism, but they taught you all these surrounding concepts that would point you in the direction to accepting creationism.
Right.
Okay, and that's kind of what was happening with CRT. It's like, yeah, maybe they weren't specifically teaching CRT, but they're teaching all these concepts that if you were to buy into all this stuff, it definitely is going to lead you as you get older directly into the CRT. And so that was the issue. with the
Well,
teaching.
like the creationists, though, a lot of people will just say, but Sitch, these concepts are true. America is swimming in white supremacy. All of America's institutions are serving white interests.
Right. And if that's the person's belief, then they need to, number one, be upfront and open when that's what they believe in. And there needs to be a public debate about whether that concept should be taught in schools. And obviously I and you would say no, because we don't think that that is the case.
Yeah, we don't believe that that's
Right.
true. Just in the same way that we don't, well, Sitch, I don't know if you accept creationism, but
I believe in
Yeah.
evolution, obviously.
okay.
But that's the problem that I have, and I think a lot of people have with this, is that there's this, and this is the meme. It's not happening, but if it's happening, good, right? That's kind of
Of
the
course.
CRT argument. It's not happening, but if it's happening, it's good because that it is happening, and they're trying to circumvent the argument about it by pretending it's not happening, right? Whether it be through ignorance, because I think Cenk is just ignorant here. I don't think Cenk is like subversive. I think he just doesn't understand that it is happening.
Well,
'Cause
this
it
is why this is interesting because, like, your whole thing is a lot of liberals whose hearts are in the right place are just doing this out of ignorance. They don't necessarily know
Of course.
that these ideas are infiltrated in the schools.
Well, if we talk Cenk and say, listen, Cenk, do you think that we should throw away liberal values, right? I'm assuming he's going to say no, like, no, we should protect.
Of course
liberal
not.
values,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Right. I said, okay, Cenk, do you think that using liberal values, we could create a society that is not racist? I'm assuming he would say yes, or at least as not racist as possible a human society can be. I'm assuming he'd say yes.
Through
Right.
liberal values, yeah.
Through liberal values, right?
Yeah.
And
And
then I said-
CRT explicitly claims the opposite.
Right. And it's like, okay, well, do you know that CRT explicitly says the opposite? And then I would imagine you'd say, well, even if that's true, CRT isn't being taught in school. And be like, okay, well, and you'd have to go get examples, say, here's specific examples of not the entirety of CRT being taught in school, but here are key elements of CRT that were being taught in schools. Right.
Well, I don't know how he would answer on the privilege walk question. Like if we asked him, what is your take on privilege walks? Are those fine to have in schools or are those bad?
Right.
He'd
Well,
probably say, oh, they're fine. We're just teaching white people are privileged.
right. And see, but that is kind of the danger of CRT and kind of wokeness and all this stuff is because when you pick out a lot of individual elements of it, it doesn't necessarily seem like it's anti-liberal until you really break down what's happening. Because like with the privilege walks, the reason privilege walks are anti-liberal is because essentially what you're doing is you're saying, based on someone's race, you're embedding within it an automatic prejudicial assumption about
Right.
that person and their interaction with society.
A stereotype.
Right. You're embedding within them a stereotype. And you're saying, look at these white people here. Just because they're white, they're automatically privileged in some way that these black kids are not privileged in some way. When in
Right.
reality, you don't know if that's, number one, you don't even know if that's fucking true.
Well, you're also embedding a stereotype in the black people that they're
Victims.
underprivileged.
Right. That they're victims. Right. Yeah.
Yes.
And,
yeah.
and it's also, there's this really good idea that Scott Adams actually talked about, even though he's been kind of crazy as fuck recently because he gets so crazy about all the Trump stuff. But it's a really good idea about like the reason that he thinks the black community has issues, like on averages, like gaining economic parity with the white community, is because the black community is the only community in America that's not allowed to succeed. What he means by that is not that there's like a racial white hand pushing black people down. What he means by that is that if you, and the example he uses is like, imagine if Jews were a part of a community where Jews were told the only way to succeed and to get a good job in this community was to become a Nazi.
Oh
Like
my
you had to
God.
put on the armband, you had to, believe in Nazi values. That was the only way you could get a good job and succeed in society, right?
Yeah, I'm not becoming a Nazi.
Do you think Jews would be that successful in that society?
No, of course not.
Of
Obviously.
course not. Right.
Because they would rebel against it.
Exactly. But if that was the mainstream culture, then obviously Jews would never find economic success in that society.
Yeah.
And so he's equating to that, saying essentially that's the message that is being taught to black children
It is.
by a lot of people, is that whites are Nazis. White society, this is why CRT is so pernicious. It's saying that white society has embedded within it all of these racist, all of these toxic things. And CRT is more explicit about this. So therefore, if you're succeeding in that society, that means you're selling out to whiteness. You're trying to acquire this, as Cheryl Harris says, whiteness as a property. You're literally trying to acquire the property of whiteness, and you're selling out, your fellow non-white brethren by participating in this system, as opposed to destroying the system.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a great example. And it does make it very explicit what is going on here.
Right.
I often say this because I just feel like that's a problem with many of these, quote unquote social justice policies, is their heart is in the right place. They really intend to help marginalized communities, but a lot of times they just cut them off at the knees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's a problem. Shall we continue?
Yeah.
Of slavery. Now it has morphed into, no, we don't want our kids to know that they exist or that there was anything that was done wrong to them. But we don't even want teachers, even if they're not teaching that, to have that personal opinion in their personal lives. In other words, if you don't hate gay people and you don't hate black people, we don't want you teaching our kids. Why don't you go tell on yourself like this?
Okay, so wait, okay.
How do you like that?
Okay, so, well, there's a good point and there's a bad point here, right? So the good point first is that it's true, just because someone believes in something you don't believe in doesn't mean they can't be a school teacher, right?
Yeah, of course.
The issue is, are they teaching something they shouldn't be teaching to kids? So hypothetically, we could have some teacher that has, I don't know, the worst ideas ever about gender dysphoria and thinks that any kid should just automatically have affirmative care, right?
Sure.
And if that this has nothing to do with whatever they're teaching, then it's America. They can believe whatever stupid shit they want to believe. And if some kid comes to them and says that they think they're transgender, and they say, well, listen, I'm not really the person to talk to about this, talk to your parents about this, right? Then it's fine. It doesn't matter whatever their beliefs are, as long as there's some kind of respect for the material they're teaching and respect for the boundaries of what is the acceptable role for a teacher and a parent. Like, that's the end of it. So I agree with the first part of what Cenk is saying. Even if this person believes some crazy leftist shit, that doesn't preclude them from teaching, as long as that's not being as long as they're not being subversive in what they're teaching, right?
Right.
But it's unfortunate because then he immediately strawmans it into the realm of well, they're just, if you don't hate gay people, if you don't hate black people, then you're not you're not allowed to be a teacher. He goes to this extreme strawman version of this ridiculous version of what the actual complaint is. Because
this video got a lot of views, Sitch. Look, when I say go off, I want you to go off.
Well, I don't want to go off. I'm trying to be productive here. Okay.
I understand. Obviously, because I'm joking. So
from the right-wing perspective, there is, even going with that the teacher should be allowed to believe whatever she believes because we live in a free country, which I agree with, there still is a special concern. And this is why I hate wokeness so much. This is why I hate cultural Marxism so much. Because cultural Marxism, or Western Marxism, and kind of wokeness in these ideologies have literally built into them the idea to be subversive intentionally. That does make you more suspicious if you were to find out someone actually did believe this stuff. Because it's literally built into
point. That is a
ideology.
Great point. Yeah.
Now, again, I don't know if this is true. I don't know if this woman believes any of this shit, right? And I don't think there's any evidence that she does. I'm just saying, theoretically, if you knew she did, it would, in my mind, it'd be oh, right, that is concerning. It would concern me more than if she was just a liberal who believed very left-wing things or a liberal who believed very right-wing things. Because I'd be like, well, built within the framework of liberalism is supposed to be a respect for other people's ideologies, which there is not in kind of subversive leftism.
But her statement that she said makes it seem like she is a liberal, because she does admit that she has respect for other people's ideology. She
Right.
says,
But of course, that's her statement, right? I would want more evidence than just whatever she says. Like, I wouldn't necessarily take her as face value.
Right. Yeah. So do you think Cenk is clear here, jumping to the racist, homophobe stereotype of the people who are calling this woman out?
Well, I mean, obviously that's what Cenk is doing, right?
Right.
I mean, I don't agree with it. I think as I said, I think it's a ridiculous straw man to jump to that.
Is there anything in the article to lead you to believe they're racist stereotypes or they're racist homophobes?
Well, this is why he's doing it. Okay. It's because he looks at the quote evidence that is provided to show that she's supposedly this subversive leftist, right? And he looks at it and he says, this is very weak, which I agree, it is very weak. So then in his mind, he then says, oh, well, since this evidence is weak, it must mean that these people just hate black people and gay people. And that's really what's motivating them. I would be more charitable and say, well, even if the quote evidence is very weak, so many people on the right have basically been primed to see, like, you know how I would say people on the left have been primed because of their media consumption to see racist and Nazis around every corner and under every rock.
Right.
Okay. The right is basically now being primed by right-wing media to see subversive socialists around every corner and under every rock.
Right, yeah.
The same way the left is primed to see racists everywhere. And so I would be far more charitable where I'd say, well, these people are just wrong. They've been primed to see the pride flag and to automatically assume this person is a groomer. They've been primed to see someone defending CRT and automatically think this person is a subversive socialist, right? Which I don't think is true. I think most people are just acting out of place from ignorance.
And they might not be racist or homophobic in the least bit. They're just saying this person is going to indoctrinate my child with leftist ideology, socialist ideology, critical race theory ideology.
Right.
I don't like that charge when they also say, and they've kind of structured it this way. So whenever you're against critical race theory because it's illiberal, they paint you as someone who doesn't want history taught about slavery and stuff.
Right.
Which obviously we're in favor of teaching history. Obviously slavery was abhorrent and that should be taught so we can avoid that kind of injustice in the future.
Right. And that's sort of obviously the most egregious example Cenk brought up, because that's just flatly not true. I'm assuming he's talking about the Florida thing.
Right, which we covered.
And as I brought up, I mean,
with Sam Cedar,
there's a line in the AP African American history course that's almost identical. It's worded slightly differently. It's worded slightly better, but it's almost identical to the line about how slaves were able to use skills acquired during slavery to help themselves when they were free. That should not be interpreted, I don't think reasonably should be interpreted as they're advocating that slavery was good actually, at all. I don't think there's any evidence for that claim.
She didn't teach a single one of those things in school. God forbid she should teach that gay people exist in the world and that black people should be equal. I know you would hate that, right-wingers in Idaho. You proved it. You proved it. Here's a great teacher of the year in your state. And you guys did a witch hunt against her.
She got punished for it.
She got punished because you Neanderthals were like, you must hate gay people. You must hate them. And if you don't hate gay people, we're going to fire you, okay? Now you tell me, I'm trying to reach out to Republicans. I get a lot of flack from the left for doing it, right? And then so you tell me, Republicans, is this who you are? Because these are the laws that you're passing. These are the witch hunts you're on. And these are the good people whose lives you're trying to destroy. So if it's not all of you, prove it. Prove it. Fight back against the Neanderthals, these bigots in your party. You'll never do it. Just go ahead, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong.
Since she's talking to you.
Oh, he's not talking to me because they're not in my party. I'm an anti-woke liberal, remember?
Of course, but
So, okay, so I found another article about this teacher. Now, this raises a little bit more eyebrows than the evidence presented. Okay, so this is Karen Loritzen,
right.
fourth grade
That's the
teacher.
teacher. Right.
Yeah, this is from the National Educational Association. Oh, she wrote this, right? So it's not bigoted against her because she wrote what I'm about to read you. She says, "I will." Let's see. I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but she's talking about. I was once taught at a charter school in Arizona. She didn't have a union. Now she does have a union. She's basically saying how awesome it is that she has a union now and how awesome the unions are.
Wow.
Right.
Uh-oh.
Which is that's
Uh-oh.
Knight, that's fine. That's not ideologically. I know unions get associated with the left, but that's not like something that I think is a problem. Obviously, all teachers are going to support being in a union because it's going to help them personally.
Does it say how many trans kids she has in her class?
Yes. So
is it 5? Is it
okay.
5 or 6?
So here's where we get into a problem. So in the third paragraph, she says, "My union has supported and inspired my journey in advocacy, which is why I now travel 386 miles each way from my home in Post Falls, Idaho, to the State House in Boise to lobby my lawmakers. I know it's far, but it's worth to advocate for my students." So at first I go, oh, her journey in advocacy, what does that mean? But then it says advocate for my students. I'm like, oh, okay, so what does she mean by advocacy? That could just mean something completely innocuous, like she wants more money for students, right?
Right, yeah.
But then I keep reading. It says, to connect with lawmakers, I share a story from my school and then stay in touch with them throughout the legislative session. I draw on stories from my 20-plus years in the classroom. I recently spoke about banning books. It's a local community issue and something I'm passionate about. For example, I can't use books in my classroom if there's any LGBTQIA plus characters.
It's starting to sound like she is kind of an activist.
Well, no. So number one, she is an activist, 100%, because she's literally, by her own definition, says she travels 386 miles to go to the State House to lobby lawmakers. So she is an advocate, or she is some kind of activist, right? The question is, what exactly is she advocating for?
Right.
Now, the example she brings forward is she can't use books in a classroom if they have LGBTQIA plus characters. Now, I personally think that if you're not allowed to have a book just because it has an LGBTQ character in it, that's ridiculous. But what exactly is the example she's referring to? Is that actually what the law says?
Right.
Or is it something a little bit more pernicious?
Yeah. I mean, we've covered some of the books that it's pretty easy to understand why parents would have a problem with these books.
Right.
There's like incest and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yes, exactly. And so this makes me think, oh, well, what exactly is it that she's advocating for specifically, right? Because based on this limited information, it could be she could be justified or she could not be justified.
Right. She could be a partisan.
Right. Is she talking about genderqueer and this book is gay? Or is she talking about something that is innocuous, like the Disney movie that you were wrong about, Adam?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Look, I'm allowed to be wrong.
Question. Right. I don't know the answer to that question. Also,
No.
what is the harassment that she suffered? She's like, she was run out of town. Like, what does that even mean? Because we haven't heard yet, right? They didn't explain what the harassment she suffered was.
No. That drove her to quit.
Was it just angry tweets or something? Like, what was the harassment?
I'm not sure. I think this is why I cataloged this video in my mind, though. Because Cenk is making a declaration for right-leaning people to call out their own side.
Right.
And I was curious if that was obviously if the right is doing things that are awful, people should call it out. But I didn't really know from the story if the things that they were doing were like awful.
Here's the problem. They're definitely, and I would agree 100% that there is massive cowardice, not just on the left and Democrats. There's massive cowardice from Republicans, Republican politicians specifically, not just obviously the ones that are afraid to speak out against Trump more specifically, but there are lots of Republicans who I'm sure are totally fine with gay marriage and totally fine with schools talking about, gay issues that don't really seem to be pushing back against the people in the Republican Party that are in state legislatures that are trying to take things too far, are trying to use the slippery slope momentum to get shit banned that shouldn't be banned from schools.
Right.
And I don't have a problem if Cenk or anyone wants to say that Republicans should unequivocally call out homophobes. I don't really think the racism charge is, there's some instances of racism, but I think it's far less than the homophobic stuff. To call that out in these laws that are being passed. I don't have a problem with them. People should call that out. Republicans should call that out, and they should try to stop that. And they're not really doing that, to my knowledge. So I don't have a problem with him doing that. However, if this is a real call out, because it's not, this is obviously performative, but if this was a real call out, it'd be highly ineffective because the call out that Cenk is yelling for is predicated on a straw man, a fake straw man which is that all these Republicans that are against her are just against her because she doesn't hate black people and doesn't hate gay people.
Right. Yeah.
No, you're not going to do it. So look, I'll keep doing what we do. You want to agree with us on corruption? Great. You want to agree with us on higher wages? Great. But I'm never going to agree to this. I'm never, ever, ever going to do it. And you're wrong and you're hateful. Don't teach your kids that hate. You should.
Why are you laughing?
It's just he's so animated. It's wrong. It's hateful.
I'm telling you, this is how you get views on YouTube, man.
This could all be you're right, but this could all be based on just a massive disconnect between what the two people what the people are talking about.
We're too reasonable. It's painful.
But I'm curious, because before we go off on all this stuff, what did she experience? Did people mail dead dogs to her house? What was the harassment that she experienced?
Oh, can you imagine getting a dead dog on your doorstep?
Yes. Did she remember the what's the Florida orange juice lady?
She got a very harassing email.
Right. Remember
I don't know.
The Florida orange juice lady?
Yeah, totally. She got a pie in the face.
Yeah, the pie in the face lady. What was her name?
I don't remember.
Well, whatever. You know what we're talking about.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, the one that was very anti-gay.
That's in all the videos by every bread tuber on the internet.
Right. We watched Contra talk about it and some other people talk about it. Not only did she get a pie in the face, but she got mailed human feces. She got mailed live bugs. She got mailed pictures of herself cut out and photoshopped. Well, not photoshopped, 1960s, but pasted onto naked bodies doing sex.
Cut and paste, the precursor to Photoshop.
Yeah, the precursor, right? So she was getting lots of harassment. So what did this person? Before I get so angry here, right?
Well, it should be easy to find on the internet because obviously it was so horrendous that.
Well, when I look up these stories, it just says she was met with right-wing attacks from social media users and conservative media. What the fuck does that mean?
Is her Twitter shut down? Did she have?
I don't know. She got angry tweets? Who cares?
We're gonna find it. It's in here. I'm certain.
Is that the issue? She got some angry tweets, and she's gonna quit her job because she got some angry tweets.
I'm certain it is in here.
You should have 1,000 of those teachers in Idaho. It would greatly improve. You probably wouldn't have turned out as backwards as you did if you had better teachers.
Holy shit.
Oh.
Oh, man.
This is how I torture you, Sitch.
Well, see, I wonder, too, if some of this is...
I torture you.
Do you think some of this is kind of performative to sort of cement in the... against the charges of them becoming right-wing grifters? Because, obviously... anyone that would say that after this is a brain dead, mewling, fucking piece of shit idiot, right? Like, there's no way you can look at this and be like, oh yeah, they're grifting, they're trying to shift to the right. Like, I mean, you have to be an idiot. I mean, I'm sure there are still dumb leftists that think this shit, but it's just like, there's no way after watching this.
It does kind of make that charge ring hollow, doesn't it?
Yes. So I'm wondering if some of this performance is to achieve that goal.
Oh, really?
Sure. I mean, it's definitely possible.
Look, I'm admiring the enthusiasm here,
Oh,
Sitch.
okay.
And I'm wondering why you
Yeah.
don't have that same kind of enthusiasm.
Because you said you're like, I want you to be like Cenk. You've already established that I'm more like Anna. I'm trying to be calm and cool. You're the buffalo. You're the Cenk here. Okay.
Give me something
You gotta pop off.
give me something to rage about, and I'm ready, willing, and able to
There
rage.
you go. There you go.
So
I'm like, listen, guys. I want some more information before I get all popped off on the rage here.
I know I'm ready to rage.
I know.
You're right. I am ready to rage. I don't know that I have enough to be raging on though. Like I said, I want more information.
Sure.
Look, and it's funny that you bring it up because there has to be some element of, how do we avoid that charge as well? So look, I'm on the lookout for some right-wing craziness that we can call out. I don't think this is it. I mean, I'm like,
well, could be. I just like this
Is
person
it?
could be. I don't know because I don't know what happened. Like, I'm not getting enough information.
right.
This person could be completely innocent or guilty of these accusations, and she could have got completely horrific or mild harassment. I don't know from the information.
If she got horrific harassment, we could call this out. Look, we'll call it out on the Sunday show.
Of course.
Yeah.
Are you hurt? Are your feelings hurt? Oh, we just wanted to hate gay people and black people. But no, oh, boo-hoo, I was...
God, I love it when he does the boo-hoo.
I mean, listen, he's a very good entertainer, right? I don't know if I'll ever match this level of entertainment value.
The boo-hoo is amazing.
It's
I
pretty
gotta
good.
learn to do that. Oh, boo-hoo! Where's my cry tears? I need the cry. Oh
There
no,
you
that's
go.
the corn. Damn it.
was criticized. Cenk called me a Neanderthal. It's okay when I'm victimizing other people, but if I hurt your feelings, all of a sudden you're gonna cry, right? You're probably crying right now. Oh, just because we're racist, I can't believe you called us racist. If anyone isn't racist, we fire them. But I'm not racist, don't hurt my feelings. Show me, Republicans, show me fighting back against this. You won't do it. We fight back against radicals on our side. Go ahead, show me. Oh, Chris Christie once said something mean about Donald Trump, and Mitt Romney once did something reasonable. Show me. You're not going to show it. You drove her out of that state. You're not going to do anything about these radicals, these racists, these bigots. You earn those titles. You earn them.
So this
I'm sorry, but
That's very fun.
man, that's amazing.
Okay,
It's
so
an amazing performance.
this is a Yahoo News article.
Oh no! The whole time, Cenk is going off. Sitch is busily googling.
Yeah, I
He's like,
tapped out. I'm just
listen
it's funny.
here.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay.
This
It's a Yahoo
is
News
it.
article. It's called "Idaho Teacher of the Year Left the State After Right-Wing Harassment."
Okay.
Okay. It says Idaho Teacher of the Year Karen Lauritsen has moved out of the state for a new job following intense right-wing harassment over her support of the LGBTQ plus community and Black Lives Matter. She received statewide honor last September after 21 years of teaching. However, the day after the fourth grade teacher was announced Teacher of the Year, she was met with right-wing attacks from social media users and conservative media. The Idaho Tribune went so far as to accuse her of being a, quote, left-wing activist who promotes transgenderism. Lauritsen told the Boston Globe that this response was based on her liking post supporting the LGBTQ plus community and Black Lives Matters on her personal social media accounts. She said that she does not teach LGBTQ plus subjects in her class curriculum, and soon her personal life was affected as parents in her community began emailing her to accuse her of teaching inappropriate content. Although discussions of sexuality in her curriculum were already prohibited by her school district, and complained about her teaching lessons about certain subjects, including the United Nations, though they don't go into specifics. Quote, I should have felt celebrated, and I should have felt like this is a great year. And honestly, it's been one of the toughest years I've ever had teaching, not only within my community, but within parents questioning every decision I made as well. Even if I have certain beliefs myself, that does not mean that I teach kids. She continued, it's not my job to indoctrinate or make kids little versions of myself. It's to make kids into the best versions of themselves. She began facing online harassment last fall. The 44-year-old has moved now to Illinois, where she now works at a university teaching prospective teachers, blah, blah, blah.
Now she's teaching future teachers.
Right. Okay, well, anyway, that's all they talk about with her. Okay, so my issue is like, it's completely possible that this person is completely innocent and should not have been bothered by the Idaho Tribune, should not have been bothered by teachers, by parents accusing her and emailing her and all this stuff. Okay, let's just assume for the sake of argument that like she's completely innocent of all charges, right? And when she says that it's not her job to indoctrinate children, that she honestly, believes that and acting according to those principles, right? So I'd say like, then yeah, like it totally sucks. No one wants to be degraded. I can't say the word. No one wants to be brigaded on social media. Brigaded. No one wants to be, dogpiled on social media. No one wants to have fucking annoying parents emailing you every, things accusing you of shit you don't want to do. Like, I get it. It sucks. No one wants to deal with that, right? And it sucks if there's some media outlet, and I would be super pissed off if some media outlet is promoting untrue things about me, right?
Right. Yeah. Fox News targets you.
Yeah. But I don't know if I would to call this harassment. Like, I just feel like it's just it sucks, but I feel like this is just kind of overblowing. Like, when I think of harassment, I just think of like, people mailing dog shit to your house. Like maybe I'm just having too high a bar here, but just, it feels like this is a little bit overblown in terms of, it's not like if people were now here's the thing. If she was completely, maybe this did happen, and so we should have an equal standard. If she's completely innocent of these charges and people are going to the school to try to get her canceled, then I do think that is justifiable harassment for her and to complain about, to say these asshole people are trying to get me canceled over literally nothing, right? But the article doesn't really say that, which is interesting to me.
Right.
But then I found another article that was kind of interesting about this, where, let's see, where was it? Where it actually said that her wanting to leave teaching and to become a college professor who teaches teachers was a long-term career goal that she always had in mind and always planned on doing eventually.
So
this was they just said that this just expedited the process, right?
Right.
Okay, here it is. This is from the Boston Globe. Loritzen is still the reigning teacher of the year, but she no longer teaches elementary school or even live in Idaho. Instead, she's taking her talents to university at Illinois, a long-considered career move hastened by the experience. So that kind of maybe illuminates the situation a little bit more, is that like she was always planning to do this. She's got teacher of the year. This should be the height of her career. She gets annoyed that she's getting backlash. She's just like, screw it. I'm going to just stop out of here. So I don't know.
Right.
It's interesting because I feel like, again, determining whether the fact claims about whether she's really an activist teaching kids or not is very important. I feel like they could very easily frame this as right-wing cancel culture run amok. Or at least potentially, right? Because she chose to quit as opposed to being fired. But.
Right. Oh, that would be interesting.
This has happened to other teachers as well. I just want to give you a few other examples. Back in 2020, an educator named Chris Dyer, who won the Louisiana Teacher of the Year, told the Boston Globe that he's received death threats from conservatives after receiving that honor. In an interview, Dyer...
See, that's super clear. Death threats.
Yeah, right.
No go with the death threats.
Yes.
Yeah.
argue that the majority of parents and teachers get along well, but that some politicians and a few loud voices on the right are manufacturing, that's an important word here, manufacturing opposition between the groups that they say has created a culture of fear, even among current teachers of the year. And that's the thing, look, good faith wanted to investigate what happened to Karen Luritzen, wanted to see if there's any, merit to the accusations against her. And these publications, like conservative publications that have written about her, have failed to provide a single shred of evidence of her indoctrinating the students with anything, gender theory, CRT, no evidence of it at all.
The party of hate, get real.
So I will say I do agree with Anna so far that when I'm looking at the publications that would be motivated politically to show her doing wrongdoing have not done so. And so I do think that based on the lack of evidence, the hatred against her of the teacher is completely
unjustified.
And unwarranted.
They did spend all night combing through libs of TikTok, but they found nothing.
Right.
Real, look, we call it the Democratic Party every single day on this show. And I say they're not the party of FDR anymore. They're not trying to help the average guy. They're all trying to help their donors. We're honest. Have you ever seen a right-wing media host be honest? Have you ever seen them say, oh no, this is bigotry, this is obvious bigotry? That's her personal opinion. She didn't teach the kids. What, you're not allowed to have the personal opinion that we shouldn't hate gay people?
So it's actually a really bad argument. And I assume Cenk doesn't watch a lot of right-wing media. Because, okay, the amount of right-wing media that shits on the Republican Party right now, the way that he shits on the Democratic Party is like astronomical.
Yeah.
There's
Giant.
so much right-wing media that all they do is they talk about how much the Republican Party doesn't care and sucks and the rhinos and blah, 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 blah. Now, Cenk wouldn't like that because usually it's coming from a position where they're more extreme right-wing, and that's why they don't like the Republican Party, and they feel the Republican Party is either too moderate or just not doing anything. So Cenk wouldn't agree with that. But I'm just saying from this specific, like if this is the argument, this is a bad argument because this actually does happen all the time. They're just not doing it on the basis of racism or whatever issue Cenk wants specifically.
Yeah, but they are definitely calling out their side for whatever infractions they perceive.
Right. This like the better way to frame the argument would be like, well, and it's funny because Cenk doesn't really want to say it because it would kind of destroy maybe the point of the segment, which is to solidify that they're not going to the right. Because the way to actually phrase the argument that Cenk wants to make would be to say, hey, here at the Young Turks, we're willing to call out when the left goes too far, right?
Right.
We're willing to call out the bullshit wokeness. Is there anyone on the right? Where are all the right-wing hosts that are willing to call out when the right goes too far?
Right.
Where's all the right-wing hosts that listen to the Matt Walsh thing and say, I don't think you should say that, Matt. That sounds very close to ethno-nationalism, right?
Right.
Or to even broach and say, well, I could give Matt the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he didn't mean ethno-nationalism, but let me ask him, let's kind of break down what he's saying because it is kind of suspect that he's saying this. That would be the way to frame it, but I don't think Cenk wants to frame it that way because that would kind of defeat the point of the segment, which is to reestablish their kind of progressive branding, I guess, maybe.
You're saying because the using of the term too far would be implying that they're willing to call it their side when they're going too far. How does that go against this they're going right-wing narrative?
Because if they're anti some elements of wokeness, right?
Right.
There's
Which is
an
where
audience.
the left goes too far.
Right. But the problem is like them calling that out, or Anna specifically calling that out, is what led to the accusation that they're right-wing grifters now in the first place.
Right.
Is because from like the Voshes of the world and the leftists on the internet in the world, the things that they're complaining about going too far, they don't agree. They agree that those should be the things.
Well,
Totally.
it's completely symmetrical with the right, though, because like you're saying, the right is constantly calling out right-wingers for not going far enough. It's
Yes.
the extreme right that's calling everyone rhinos and saying, look, you need to be more extreme.
Right.
I will say more extreme.
I don't. Yeah. It's not perfectly symmetrical because.
Well, I mean, Vosh is calling out Anna, saying you need to be more extreme. How? That's exactly.
Yeah, no, I agree.
The beef, right?
I agree completely. I meant it's not perfectly symmetrical to the right in terms of the way. So when right wingers complain about Republicans not going too far, it's not because they want them to be racist. I mean, there are some of those people, but that's not most people. It's
that's a good point. Yeah.
They believe that the Democrats and the establishment have subverted democracy and infiltrate all these institutions and all the blah 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 blah, all this deep state narrative shit.
When they mean go further, they mean abolish the FBI.
Yeah, or we got to take out all the deep staters, or whatever shit that they're talking about. Right? They're not framing it like there are some of them, but most of them are not framing it like we need our Republicans in office to be racist, and they're not going racist enough.
Well, I do think the Matt Walsh and the Michael Knowles of the world would frame it as just make transgenderism illegal.
Yes. Yes, but I don't think that's the general, at least that's not the generally accepted open consensus yet in these conversations that I've seen personally. Usually stems around they're not going far enough to weed out quote unquote deep state corruption is like the big issue.
Right.
That's like now forbidden not to hate gay people? Let me see you right-wing media hosts. Here's how many right-wing media hosts will be outraged by this. 0.
God, this is so good, man. That's so good.
Yeah.
I just love the enthusiasm here.
I know.
0. None of them will talk about it because they wouldn't want to upset their bigoted, racist audience. Ooh.
Oh my God, that's the perfect screen cap. Look at that. You did it. That was a good one. There's your thumbnail. Look at that. That's so good.
We might be looking at a different thing.
Oh, what do you got?
He's making like a oh shit face.
Yeah, mine. He's got his hands up to his mouth. He's like he just farted. He's like whoopsie. It looks funny. He's like oh, somebody just took a shit in my pants. Like that's the face.
Was it you?
I don't know. Who could it have been?
Ooh, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong.
Okay.
Here. 0.
Here we
0.
go. Let me try and get
None of them will talk about it because they wouldn't want to upset their bigoted, racist audience. Ooh.
Did I get it? Is that the one?
You got it. Yeah.
Is that the one you're talking about?
That's good. Yeah. That's good.
Sweet. Here, let me just screen cap.
I also like when he does the 0 thing. It's just like from Fifth Element. No stones means no grits.
It's true. That is a good one.
He's doing the Zorg. That's perfect. Or Zog, whatever the hell the guy's name.
Ooh, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. None of you will prove me wrong. None of you will do it because you know who your audience is and you want to feed this monster. I want to say one thing. Look,
see, these are the accusations that we're getting, Sitch. This is exactly the accusations that we're getting.
I know.
I think that's why I wanted to watch this video. I was like, oh man, I'm feeling this heat. Look, we're not even right wingers.
I know. It's funny.
This is bullshit.
Mean, I did go off like pretty wild on Sunday, but it was on the tanky shit.
Oh yeah, the tanky stuff.
I mean that's despicable because we're literally talking about people being massacred and blaming themselves for being killed. Like
I feel like that's totally justified though. Like I
agree. It is justified to go off on sleepy thought. Yeah.
I could not work up this kind of energy over this. There's not enough information here for me to be this pissed off.
Well, if you believed, as Cenk, because I think Cenk honestly believes that, like, he believes what he's saying. Right. He believes that there's a huge swath of the Republican Party that's just very racist, very homophobic, and all the arguments that they put forward and against this stuff are all just lies to cover up the racism and homophobia.
Right.
So, I mean, if I thought that was true, I would be very angry and animated about it too. I just don't think that's true.
Yeah, I don't like racism, so.
Okay.
The United Nations thing is not nearly as important as the others, right? But wait,
who cares about the United Nations?
No. I care because of two reasons.
I'm kidding.
Number one, they're like,
Look, they don't even cut to Anna.
That was so funny.
They're like, listen, we're gonna miss some gold here. Cenk
I know.
Cenk is going off.
Eat the bugs! Eat the bugs!
Oh my god. I'm sorry. I feel kind of bad because I think this is supposed to be serious, and I'm laughing so hard here.
This is hilarious. I mean, listen, Cenk's performance here is impeccable. Okay. This is fantastic.
This is one of the big. This video got 150,000 views, which is.
Yeah, you need to be this animated, Adam. You need to get this good at being angry. Okay.
I don't know that we cover what do we cover that's going to make me this angry?
We'll cover some like virulent racist. I know that you really don't like stereotyping. So.
It's got to be some stereotype stuff,
right?
Yeah.
Say that the United Nations doesn't exist. Come on, guys, the United Nations exists, you morons! It exists! So you want the teacher to pretend it doesn't exist. And
they got mad because she taught a class on the United Nations or something?
Well, that's what Anna said, and then there was an article that said something about the UN, but it didn't say like what were the specifics that the parent was complaining about. It's very possible the parent is one of these fucking they're gonna make us live in the pot and eat bugs person, and so they interpret like something completely innocent and innocuous in a wrong way, and the parent's a fucking idiot.
Yeah, I could see that easily.
Why do they hate the United Nations? Because it's all of humanity working together. That nothing will make a conservative angrier than human beings being decent to one another and working together.
Yeah, that's what makes conservatives angry.
Okay. The straw manning continues.
Hold on, I got a screen cap. Oh my god, it's amazing.
That's a good face. That's a good face. He's got the crazy eyes. Holy shit.
So good.
That's a fantastic.
You want to bring the whole world, all these different ethnicities together?
I like that argument.
Oh my god.
This is gold. No wonder this video is 100. Like this is every frame of painting right here. Okay, every Cenk, a meme.
Our whole emojis could be Cenk.
They all could be various Cenks. He has the entire spectrum of emotions.
It's unstoppable.
This is so good.
I know.
These are great.
I know. It's incredible.
I'm really glad
I hate them. The world working together.
Oh my god. Make it stop, Sitch.
No, make it continue. I love this. So
Make
good.
it stop. Oh, this is hysterical. This is better than the airport video.
Much better.
Oh, I hate it. I'm a right winger. No, I hate everyone else. Circle the wagons. You prove me wrong.
Well, he did get the circle the wagons metaphor correct, right? Fortressing versus explore.
Prove me wrong, guys. I called you all racist. Prove me wrong. You're all a bunch of racist pieces of shit. Prove me wrong. Like, all right. I mean, okay.
Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted. Yeah, I don't think you're gonna get many challenge accepteds off of that one.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I can't stop laughing.
Me wrong. None of you will prove me wrong. None of you will prove me wrong. Go ahead. I dare you.
So let's get to the
Oh man.
Do you like that? And it's just like, like the decompression after like. Okay.
I do, man.
We've released the energy from the room.
I love it. Yeah.
happy ending here because, believe it or not, there were members of the community who rallied in support of this educator. So her town rallied around her because she wasn't doing anything wrong in the classroom and they wanted to show her support. Now, Jones wants to build a mentorship program for educators in her district to better protect them from bad faith attacks. I love that she's doing that. But I just want to say, I think it would be better for her to stay in Idaho and avoid fleeing the state. Don't let them win. Don't allow them to run you out of your own state after you won Teacher of the Year.
I know, but
Anna,
Look at
she
that.
wants more money. She's like, now that I'm Teacher of the Year, time to get that college job, baby. Yeah.
Right. But
I mean, that's
I
what's
agree
going on.
with the sentiment of
Yes, don't let
Anna
them run
saying,
you out.
don't
I
let
agree.
them run you out of town. Don't let them
Yes.
run. Don't let. Look, I like that.
But
I like that moxie.
listen, I agree with you, Adam. I agree with Anna. You got to have moxie. Okay. Got to have courage. Got to stand up to the bullies. Okay.
Yep.
I get it. But counterpoint. Money! I want that money! And what a better way, like, listen, what a better narrative than to say, oh, I was run out of town by the evil right wingers, the racist
Oh, I know. Look.
right wingers, and run to the arms of some college and say, listen, I'm like a local celebrity. I was run out of town by evil racist right wingers. Don't you want to pay me more money after I got Teacher of the Year?
It was always my dream to be a famous Canadian psychologist. Always my lifelong dream
Okay.
to be famous canceled person.
Right. There you go.
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it. That narrative sings. I mean, I'm right back into the Spider-Verse. We got to work on your narrative here.
Exactly.
Right?
but it's not on. I don't blame her at all.
No, I don't blame her either. I totally understand it. But you're letting them win, right? Don't let them win. And look, it's easy for me to say. I know what it's like to deal with dogpiling and endless attacks. It's different for a private citizen, right? And it becomes overwhelming and super scary. But I hate to see the bigots win.
Yeah, okay, improve yourselves, state of Idaho. Just a couple of years ago, I was having a conversation on another program that we have about how Idaho could be great. And Idaho could be like Colorado, but less expensive. And maybe people should move to Idaho. I'll never make that mistake again until things turn around. Because, I mean, you think I'd send my family to a state filled with bigots and racists who would then drive all of the smart teachers out and only have like the worst, most degraded Neanderthals?
We're both pausing at the same time. It's I think the hyperbole is a little off the charts here.
A state of racist Neanderthals.
Yeah, it's hard for me to imagine the entire state of Idaho is like down with this kind of behavior.
I mean, have you seen Idaho?
Well,
You've
I've seen it
the
on a
shape
map.
of that state. It screams racist Neanderthal. Okay?
I've seen it on a map, but it just seemed like a regular shape to me.
It's like Brazil, but upside down. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously.
What kind of
This
state?
is-
That's a weird shaped state. I don't trust any weird shaped state like Idaho. Okay. What's going on with Idaho? Is it like a finger? Is it like a penis? Like, what's up with this? Is it like an upside down elephant? Like, what's going on there? It's
Yeah,
very suspicious.
It is. It's awful.
Right? Like Oklahoma, you know, it's nice. It's like a finger pointing. It makes sense. It's pointing. It's saying, "Yo, look over there, Texas. Go invade that country. Go invade that state." Right? But Idaho, we don't know what's going on with there.
Is it
Very suspect.
Is it the story of Sodom and Gomorrah with Lot when God says, "Listen, if you can find just one person in Idaho who is not a bigot, I will spare the state. I will spare the Cenk outburst." Look, this is the thing for me. As someone who I'm constantly aware of these stereotypes, and I think, look, Cenk, I'm sure there's one, down to earth progressive that lives in Idaho that's just casually smoking a joint right now, going, "Why are you calling me a bigot, motherfucker?"
I
Right?
like the idea now. I could see that Anna is like Cenk, spare Idaho of your wrath.
Yes.
And Cenk is like, go out there and find me 10 not racist Idahoans, Anna. And Anna comes back, I couldn't find 10, Cenk. And then Cenk's like, find me 5 not racist.
Are they Idahos? Is that what they call them? You've raised a curious question in my mind.
Yes, I don't know how you call the
10
Idahos.
Idahos.
Yes. Right.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't know. Spare the guy. Spare some of them. Come on, they're not all big. They can't all be bigots.
Right.
I guess not all is implied. That's why the not all meme is old to people. They're like, of course, Adam. We don't mean all of them. We just mean most of them.
Right. Politicians who don't believe in education at all, don't believe in working together. Who the hell would want to live in a toxic dump site like that? But Idaho, I believe it or not, the citizens, I believe in you. I think you can be better than that. I think you are better than that. But right now, you're not proving it at all. Everybody's cowering to these radicals. These radicals now run the place because you let them be the Gestapo and run all good people out of Idaho. Is anyone in the right wing or independents ever going to fight back against these monsters? Young Turks.
Thanks for watching the.
It's such a jarring their outro next to the obviously the Rage Fest. So with this has gone super long. So do you have any closing thoughts, and we'll just wrap up?
No, I think we said it all.
Okay, that was awesome. Clip it, CT.
Hi, you just listened to a clip from the Sitch and Adams show. If you like what you heard, you can listen to our live show right here on this channel on Sunday, starting at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And if you want, you can super chat us. We read $20 and up super chats on the show and then do a follow-up stream on the following Tuesday where we read the rest of the unread super chats and interact with fans of the show. Subscribe to this channel right here to listen to the live show or to listen to more of our awesome clips.